And welcome to this episode of Game Creation. So we're going to start a new project because we've kind of finished the old one, which was responsiveness and stuff. And we're going to look at making a game again. And the game I want to look at making is like Candy Crush and Bejeweled, like a matching game. So it's going to use a lot of the skills we learned during the Tetris game that we made. So without further ado, let's get building. So what I want to do is just spend less time chatting and more time working with this project. So I'm going to try and do things quickly. Now, the first thing I need is an array, and we are going to need probably I'd do it as 10 by 10. I want it to be an 8 by 8, but we'll probably need some information for what's coming next, and probably what's sensible is if we build out another 8 on top. So the x dimension can be 8 because we don't need any more xy's, and the y dimension we probably want it to be 16, so that we've got two boards. We've got the board they can see and then the board above, because what you want to do is you want to make sure you know what's above, because if you've ever played Candy Crush or Bejeweled or any of those kind of games, they fall down quite quickly and you don't want it to load whilst they're falling down, okay? We're going to do the game pieces, so you can see we're doing real quick work, and it's not going to be a long video today, but we're going to do some maths here, because I want it to be this big. I want it to be in this window. What is the size of the window? So we want it 8, so that's going to be 80 pixels wide. And what is that? That is 6 times 8, so there's 60. So if we do 60, then that'll leave enough starting room at the side. So if we do 60 size, I think that maths works out, doesn't it? It probably doesn't. It probably doesn't. It's a good thing I don't communicate maths for a living. Right. Hotspot goes to the top left, so I know where they are for all of them. I want to increase the amount of directions because I'm going to have a piece per direction, and we need 7 pieces in total. But I'm going to stretch it out fully so that in case I need different pieces or different animations or whatever. I don't mind this here. I think it's a bit detailed. I want to try and make it a lot less detailed, but I don't mind it being that kind of diamond shape. And we're on white at the moment. Let's put it on black at the moment so we can see it. And you can use this little coordinate here to make sure, so we know that it's 60 wide. So we're looking for when it's roughly 30. And then where it's roughly 30 here. Looks good. And then do the same. You can see it because it goes perfectly diagonally. And because it's 60, the middle is going to be slightly off. So what we want to do is we want to start it on the other side like that. To be honest, this as a first iteration, I'm not actually too fussed whether it's perfect. Right, and probably don't want this to be black. I just chose that as a colour that shows up. So we can have this as yellow. We need 7 pieces. So some of you might be like, "Oh my goodness, you're going very quickly." Oh, I said we'd go quickly doing this. Right, that was silly because I didn't actually copy the thing. And we want it purple. Let's copy that to the next one. We can have a kind of green. We had a green yet. Yellow, blue, purple, green. Cool. I'm just pressing Control C and Control V to copy and paste. You can have this colour. This is quite an unusual colour. It's cool. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can have that brown. And we need one more. Kind of taken all of them. Could have this kind of colour. Okie dokie. Cool. So we've got our piece. What I want to do is I want to create an array first. So at the start of the frame, I want to create my array. And I'm going to do this in a group. So it's going to be called sort of create initial array. Something like that. I don't know why I've camel cased it when I put spaces in it. And so I want a fast loop, and I'm just going to call it sort of create init array. And we're just going to do it once because it's just going to be on all of these. So on loop, create initial array. And we're only focused on the array. So the array is going to hold all of the data for all our pieces. So it's going to be a number between 0 and 6, because that's 7 numbers, right? Because you're including 0. And then we're going to iterate through the array to actually draw the pieces, right? Hopefully. Okay, so we're going to have 8 by 16. And we're going to start off with the x's. So we start off with the y's. Never remember what it is. So array y, or init array. So I might want to use array y later. So init array y, and so y will be 16. So we're going to do 16 down. We're only going to show 8 of them, and then we're going to do init array x. I didn't copy that. Oh well. Not too hard to change, right? Okay, so what I want to do is put a random number in the array at a certain point, and just remember that. So we haven't set up the array. We should put it as a number array, and we always put it as base 0 because I just can never remember. It's too complicated otherwise. Right, so we're going to write array value to x, y, z. So the value to write is just a random number. Where are we? Random, and there's 7 numbers. So random 7 should give me a random number between 0 and 6, because that's 7 numbers. If you ever wanted it between 1 and 7, you could just add 1 at the end, but I don't mind it between 0 and 6. It might be helpful because if you initialize the array, they will start at 0. So if you mucked up your programming and they're not setting here correctly, you can identify that quicker if you don't like just automatically have 0 as the yellow ones. But I'm not that fast at the moment. Right, the x will be fast loop index for the x. I'm going to copy that because the y is going to be the same thing, but for the y. And then the z, I'm just going to put at 0 base 0, just at 0, because there's one dimension in the z, but I might want to use the z later on. Right, so that's created our array. So if I run the application now, and if I include the array, I can see that there's a 5 in 0, 0, there's a 6 in 0, 1, etc., or 1, 0. 2 zeros are 0, etc., etc. Right, and then each of them has a different value in. Close doesn't close it. Interesting. Okie dokie. Now we want to actually show that. So initial array to tile. So we're just going to create the tiles here. In fact, I should call it a create tiles, shouldn't I? I'm going to call these tiles, right? Okay, so we're going to be quite similar actually. I'm going to double click this and just copy and paste that. And I'm just going to call it create tiles, or create init tiles. Now the init is just to say this only happens at the start, right? Or if they reset. Okay, so this is our initial function or initial fast loop, right? Okay. So init tile. I can just change these. And you might be thinking, well, why am I not doing this in the same row as here? Really good question. I like separating different parts of the code. So I'm doing the array first, then I'm doing the tiles, because there might be a step that I want to do first. I want to check something or whatever. There might be a step here where I've got to check the array to see if there are 3 next to each other, or to see if the thing's impossible. There might be a step I want to do first to check the board works before I draw it. Okay, so it's born out of experience, knowing that I've been burnt in the past by putting all my eggs in one basket and putting all the code on one line. And yeah, it is born from experience. Now, what I want to do is I want to create, well, you can do this now. So you can create object at, okay? So we're going to create this object, and the x coordinate is going to be us reading a value from the x, y, z, and it's going to be the fast loop. So fast loop of the get tiles x, and then the y offset, and then the z offset, which says 0, whoops, because it's 0 based. You should always put arrays as 0 based. So it's going to read that value, right? I'm just going to copy that because this isn't at all what I want to do here. That's for a direction, so I'm going to copy that. In fact, I might go ahead with it. Got distracted. So we want to select direction of that value, so calculation of that value, because that's the 0 to 6, okay? And if you look at the object, I don't know whether you can click on it here. No, you can't. I think you can click on it here. Then if you hover over it, that's 0. So yellow 0, blue's 1, etc., etc., right? Okie dokie. So I've created it at a stupid place because I wasn't really concentrating. So it's at the... Oh, hang on. I didn't change that to y either. Doing well. So the x coordinate will be the loop index of x times the width of the tile, right? Which we know is 60, but I might change it later on. So we're just going to future-proof that. Okie dokie. The y coordinate is the same thing, okay, and it's going to be times the height. Okay, the height and the width should be the same, but you never know. Might have rectangular pieces at some point, and layer is just going to be 1 for now. Now we've got to change it in here because it's reading the x twice. We'll change that to y. Now, something you might have noticed is I've actually put all 16 in. I probably don't want all 16 drawn, although I might do. Let's just run it and see. Alright, so they're all facing the same direction. That sucks. So, what have I done wrong? So, read the value at the array. Is that happening after? No, it's happening during. It's fine. X, Y, 0. That's good. Init tars X. That's good. Init tars Y. This is going to be something silly. I'll pause it for a second. So what seems to be happening is that it's doing it for all of the objects. So if I keep refreshing, it seems to be doing it for every single object, which either means this isn't being specific to this, or this will always give the same number, right? And so normally that might mean I've mucked up init tiles X, init tiles Y. That all looks good. And so what I might do is put a string in, or I might set, actually I'll tell you what I'll set a global string of A to the global string of A plus, or it's ampersand, I can never remember. Oh. Is it a plus. I can never remember which one it is. Yeah. Okay. So I can read it. So this is a bit of debugging here. And I can read what happens. So if I, where's my globals? Move my globals. Yeah, this happened the other day, didn't it? I tried to find my globals. So where do I get my globals? I feel like I've deleted something somewhere. Does anyone know how to get my globals back? You used to be able to read globals here. For some reason that's not working anymore. I'll do it with a string. I think I've got enough room here at the side. I must have clicked something to get rid of it. Okay, let's just move this down here, and then what I'll do is I'll just do a new line. Do a bit of debugging. Okay, so I'm just going to set change ultrable string to that, but I want the ultrable string. So ultrable string, and I probably want a new line actually. So it will run out of space quite quickly. So strings, new line. Let's have a look at it now. Okay, so you can see that it's coming up as completely random. So each of these should be in a different direction. But you notice here that it seems that it runs this, and then when it runs this, it doesn't realize it's talking about this, right? And I'm really not sure how I'm going to force it to do that. Because it should do it. So I'm going to set a new one. I'm going to drag that here, and drag that here. So it's identical, but it might work now. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the directions myself. Okay, so this new feature, this exciting new feature they've added, seems to be broken, right? So I'm going to create it up here, and then I'm going to move the direction of it, the position of it, myself, right? So copy that, set position, x coordinate that, and then I'm going to edit that because I want to copy the y position. So copy, and position, y coordinate that, and then I'm going to click that, copy, click that, paste. Okay, and I'm going to deactivate that line. So where are we? Deactivate the line. So what I did before was I set it and then set the position, then I did something with it, but it just doesn't recognize that. But here, if you just generally create it and then set the position and all that stuff and the direction here, I bet it'll work now. And it works perfectly fine. So yeah, a bit frustrating that, isn't it? So you've got this brand new thing they've added to Clickteam where you can create it and set the position on the same line, but it seems that you can't then reference the one that's been created then, which just makes it, for my money, completely useless. Because even if I could set an alterable value to it, I could then identify it from the alterable value. But if you can't identify it at all, then that's a really, really pointless tool. But if I've mucked up, if I've done something wrong, let me know. Anyway, the time is now 4 minutes till 5 o'clock, so I've got to get going. 16:56. That's what I just said, Siri. So I've got to upload this. Otherwise, thank you very much. If you like this video, click like. If you want to see more from us, click subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.